Krugs, what's going on?
What's up?
I confirmed that we were going to do this yesterday, and you said, I don't know what we're going to talk about. There's not much to talk about. There's plenty to talk about. Thanksgiving is in the rearview mirror. We talked about whether or not I thought they were bluffing.
Yep. First of all, let me ask, do you have your flights booked for the winter meetings?
When do they officially start? Is it
Sunday.
Monday morning?
Sunday.
Sunday?
Oh, I think everyone gets there Sunday night. That's when MLB Network starts their coverage.
Really?
Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, winter meetings for baseball start next week. It's usually the first few days of the meetings that things start to happen.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think the GM meetings are starting to pick up more steam. Those happen.
You know what? It's funny. You used to never hear about them because they're usually in the beginning of November. The World Series is just over, and that's where a lot of the ground, that's where the Kimbrel deal started.
Yeah.
All those kind of deals, those early deals started. And I'm sure there's more groundwork. I'm sure that's when the David Price deal, the groundwork was kind of laid. What are you looking for?
Yeah. So interesting. We've got some big news with the Sox. They signed David Price. 7 years.
$217 million.
$217 million. I had to whip out the calculator to figure out how much that was on an average annual basis. $31 million a year. Now, so the way it works out, it's a opt-out after 3 years.
Yep.
He's going to get a flat $30 million.
Yep.
Just $30 million a year for the first 3 years. The guy's, 30 years old, 31?
I think he just turned 30, yes. He was a college guy, so he wasn't straight from the pros after high school. He did go to college. So
he kind of got thrown into the mix right when he got drafted, didn't he?
He got drafted in 2007. He was pitching with the Rays in 2008.
Yeah, relief, right?
Yeah,
against
relief,
the Sox.
yep. Mm-hmm.
So the Sox got their ace.
Exactly.
Now, a lot has been said about this guy's postseason performance and his numbers.
Yep.
I tried looking it up. I couldn't find it, but I felt like a lot of his I was looking at numbers that mattered.
Yep.
I'm not looking at wins and losses. To me, those are nice. When you've got 22 wins as a pitcher, was it Jake Arrieta got 21 or 22? You hit the 20-win mark. That looks good. 22-6, all that crap. But I look at WHIP.
Yep.
I look at ERA. Quality starts is big to me.
Yep.
And I feel like David Price, especially with Toronto this year, I feel like the second game he pitched against Kansas City.
Yep.
I remember being a good one.
He went the first 6 innings. He faced the minimum, 18 hitters. He had a hit in there and then a double play, but and then the 7th blew up on him. Remember when they didn't catch that pop up? And they didn't drop it. It just landed, so that counts as a hit, and then it just.
Right. So watching him this postseason, he didn't strike me as a guy that falls apart and can't throw a strike in the postseason.
Yep.
He seems to be the type of guy that maybe the outfielder and second baseman can't communicate and the ball falls in.
Yep.
He leaves his game with 2 guys on.
Yep.
Reliever comes in,
Gives
lets
up
up
a
a
hit,
3-run
yep.
jack or gives up a hit, and then those runs get tacked onto him.
Yep.
So, listen, the guy's pitched in the AL American League, which I love, and no less done everything he's done in the AL East.
Other than, 4 or 5 months in the AL Central.
In Detroit.
Yep.
Listen, I ended the season. I wanted the Sox to go get him.
Yep.
And then I was real hot on him, and then I got really cold on him. I like the signing. What are your thoughts on it as a fan?
I like it.
Yeah.
Look. Here's the problem, and I don't know why people can't. This is the price you're gonna have to pay for starting pitching. It's the bottom line. It's the price you're gonna have to pay for starting pitching.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking the difference between 190 and 217 mil, well, I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's pennies.
Sure.
The thing that people like. So here's my thought process: this is not. Everyone thinks that this is going to hurt them long term. The contract itself, I don't see how it's going to hurt them long term.
Right.
Baseball doesn't have a salary cap.
No salary cap.
So if you're an NFL team and you sign a quarterback for $30 million a year, you're stuck with that. You can only spend to a certain number.
Sure.
Dave Dombrowski was going to come here and he was going to spend. If John Henry said, "No, Dave, we're not looking to up the budget. We're not looking to give away any of our prospects," he would have said, "Okay, I'm going to the Angels," or whatever.
Sure.
So I'm all for it. The best way to put it is, I told someone this. I said, "I'm going to bed tonight feeling better about the Red Sox," and that's outstanding.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning saying, I felt great.
Yeah.
Your team is officially in contention.
Which is insane. I don't think they're done making moves, and we can get into that in a second. A thing that intrigues me about this deal is the opt-out clause.
So here's my thought on the opt-out.
And that's become more common.
Now, first
these
of all,
contracts.
to clear it up, opt-out is always the player. The player can opt out because the team would opt out of every contract ever if they had an opt-out.
It comes like the NFL. You can just have an agreement whenever.
Yeah. Now, my thought is if he's opting out after 3 years, he's probably been really good for 3 years, and in turn, that means the Red Sox were probably really good for those 3 years.
Okay.
So I'm okay with it. I can live with that.
Sure.
I mean, 3 years from now, where does he sit? No one knows.
Yeah.
So maybe he feel. People say he might be uncomfortable here. Maybe he's mediocre and he feels uncomfortable and he wants to opt out because he's more comfortable in St. Louis. You know what I'm saying? And if that ends up being the case, then it's a bonus for the Red Sox.
All right, some quick math. Are you good at math? So
Okay.
217 minus 90 million is what? Let's round up to 220.
220. That's 130.
Okay, so 130 was it? So it's about 130. So in 3 years, could he go out and sign a deal for more than 6 years and $130 million?
Probably not. Probably
Right.
not.
So the only way I see him opting out, which I like your theory on, if he opts out, it's because he had 3 tremendous years.
Yeah.
And the Sox had good years, and
I
everyone's
just
happy.
if you have David Price as an ace for 2016, 17, and 18, I just can't see the rest of the team being bad enough where they're not consistently in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think if that's the case, then it's worth every penny. And if he opts out and he's 33 and you don't probably not going to sign him to a 6-year deal then, you know what?
Yeah.
It still is a really good 3 years.
Now, I could totally see him getting fed up with, unfortunately, and it drives me nuts. I don't understand why people just don't let it breathe, embrace players. The guy likes to go on Twitter. He's social. He's young. Let him do his thing.
Yep.
He's a guy, when he takes the ball, he takes himself seriously. Let him do his thing. Let him produce. Let him have some positive impact on his teammates.
Yep.
But the only way I see him opting out after those 3 years is if he's just like Boston.
Yep.
The city is small as heck. Everyone's on top of each other.
Yep.
It's cold.
Yep.
I got my World Series ring, or
Yep.
I got my 2 rings. All right, I'm gonna go to, Florida, L.A., St. Louis,
Whatever.
and go deal with it then. Because, come on, let's be real. When you hit that $100 million mark, listen.
I guess
You get $100 million, $110 million. You get $100 million. Hopefully you're a little smart. You're not Antoine Walker with your money, but you be able to be okay.
What it's going to come down to is he's going to look 3 years from now and say, can I get 4 years, $130 million on the – and the answer is probably no. Yeah. But if he can, then he's been really good for these last 3 years, and that means the team's been
I
really
think
good.
I might have said 6 years earlier, but yeah, you did the math right.
Yeah,
4
so
years.
it's 4 years.
So, by the way, when I listen back to these podcasts, I realize how I say a lot. Like I screw up a lot. So instead of like 4, I say 6, or instead of like Joe, I say Bob.
And on the Red Sox side, on it leaves, if necessary, it kind of leaves a something on the end of the stick for David Price, because the big years are the last years. You know what I'm saying? So his last 2 years are $33 million, something like that. Where now
I think it goes like up from 30 to 31, and I think 32.
Yeah,
I don't think it get maybe 30.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's 30, 30, 31, 31, 31. Whatever.
I just remember having conversations with you and probably Richardson in a text. Maybe Lily was part of it, or Pizzy.
Yep.
And when Lester was becoming a free agent a year before, and they started to talk about whether or not they should re-sign him, and I think it was Richardson, 5 years, $100 million. I'm not going a penny more.
Yeah.
Or we were thinking, okay, maybe 5 and 120.
Yep.
Maybe 6 and 120. But if he wants more than that, then see you later.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into $30 million a year, and it went and escalated. You knew when Rick Porcello's getting $22 million a year. Yeah. And now this deal makes that deal look affordable.
You can move him.
Maybe that's why they did it, so they could move Porcello.
Well, the way you got to look at it is, what would you rather have, David Price for $31 million or Rick Porcello for $22 plus Joe Kelly for $5 plus, Wade Miley for 5. You know what I'm saying? And
well,
so last year they said, all right, we're not going to get one guy for $31 million. We're going to get 4 for 42 total.
well, let's go back to this whole theory, and we talked about it a few podcasts ago. I mean, look at the Royals this year. They won the World Series.
Yep.
Okay, who did they beat in the World Series? The Mets. Okay, the Mets, they lost.
Yeah.
The Royals won, the Mets lost. Who was the Royals' ace? They went and traded for their ace,
And he wasn't an ace.
and he was terrible.
Yeah.
They had Edison Volquez, who, found the fountain of youth. They didn't have the year before they made it to the World Series. They traded for that guy, James Shields. So as happy as we are, and as important as we think an ace is, okay, I like that David Price is on the team, but when it all comes down to it, it doesn't really guarantee you anything.
No. No.
So,
But I think it also puts a lot of other people back into place. You've got
that's a good call. I like that.
So I guess everyone was kind of bumped up a rung. Clay Buchholz, he's not number one.
You're not
starter.
an ace. You're
Yeah.
maybe a 3.
Yeah. So
At
all right.
best.
So now we have let's say we have Buchholz as a 3. Are you happy with him as your 3rd starter?
It does change your view.
Or
on the other
Rick
guys.
Porcello as your 4?
I'd bump
and
up
Wade
to
Miley.
5.
Okay.
I put Miley as
That's
my
fine.
4.
That's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
If someone asked me who's a 2, I said Eduardo Rodriguez right now.
Now that's yeah.
And that's kind of looking down. I guess the reason why I said that is I just don't trust Clay Buchholz.
I would have cut ties with him, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
And I think they not re-upped him, but he had a.
The team had a club option.
Yeah,
and
and
they
they-
picked
they-
it up for like $13 million.
Yeah, which after David Price looks like a $500,000 bonus.
Hey, do you think there's any animosity when these guys come in? So I was thinking about this at work, and there are people who make more money than other people.
Yep.
Do you look at it now? I broke it down with baseball. Pedroia can't look at a starting pitcher, and a
Yeah.
starting pitcher can't look like at a left fielder.
Yeah.
So it's by position. But do you think there's some animosity between these starting pitchers? Hey, I'm making $13 million a year. You're making 3 times almost as much as me, and I'm putting up better numbers than you. Do you think that ever comes into play, or do you think these guys are not like that?
Well, I think in a position like Clay Buchholz he was the one he could have. He signed a team friendly deal. That's his.
Yeah.
That's his. He could have bet on himself.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have gotten $30 million on the market, but he might have gotten more than he. Now I remember when Buchholz signed, he said one of the reasons why he signed was at the time he just got married, just had a kid, and he wanted a little more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Security.
Security. And he's like, hey, if this was 2 years ago, no, I wouldn't have signed because I was single. I could have lived on $100,000.
Sure. Yeah.
And no, I think when it becomes an issue is what's the attitude of that player, the attitude of the guy that's making $30 million. If he's out there working his ass off, then no, you respect that. Even if he's not performing to that level, he's trying to.
So perfect segue, because I wanted to bring this up, is what kind of effect do you think Price will have on this team? Because, listen, he's young. He's 30.
Yep.
Okay. He has some miles on the arm. He's been around. He's pitched in the playoffs. He's pitched in the World Series. What do you think he's going to bring to the team from baseball? Besides towing the rub every 5th day, what is he going to bring to that clubhouse, to that environment? Is he going to fit in well? Is he not? What's he going to change, if anything?
I think that's the big question mark.
Yeah.
You don't know. And I haven't heard anything that he's a bad guy or teammates hate him, but it's going to be a new environment with him.
He seems unique, doesn't he?
Yeah, he seems a little different.
Seems outgoing.
Yep, which is fine.
Yeah.
Some people like it, some don't. But I think a lot of it depends on what you already have there.
Yeah.
If you have a pretty good base, Poppy's only there for 1 more year. Pedroia seems like pretty good with that kind of stuff. But you don't know. He was in Tampa. No one even knows what's going on down there. He was in Detroit, bigger atmosphere.
I read he didn't like Detroit.
Really?
Yeah, I read that he was miserable in Detroit.
For
Just Detroit.
just okay.
Not necessarily the team, just the
city, the
city,
area.
The area. He was not.
He was in Toronto, which is a smaller environment, but they were in the playoffs. It's going to be an adjustment.
Yeah.
But look, I say this time and time again. Because you always hear the big thing is, can he adjust to Boston? Can he adjust to the big market? It's not like Boston's a big market. If you weren't going to be comfortable there, then don't go. Especially David Price, who would go to Boston all the time. He'd play in New York all the time. He's been in the AL East. He knows what it's like. You can't have a better feel for the city if you're David Price other than if you were on the team.
Yeah.
You know what it's like in Boston.
Now, when it gets into negotiations with professional athletes, with big name professional athletes, they all have agents. They have
Yep.
agencies representing them. It strikes me, and maybe it's not like this all the time, but
Yep.
the off season begins, regular season's in the rearview mirror.
Yep.
David Price and his agent have a discussion. They go, all right, David, these are the teams that probably going to be interested in you.
Yep.
Here's what we think your value is worth. All right, where would you like to go?
Yep.
And he ranks his towns,
yeah.
cities, and then he goes, all right, agent, go do your thing.
Yep.
Call me when we get serious.
Yeah.
Or maybe the agent says after Thanksgiving is when, or David says after Thanksgiving, before Christmas is when I need to be somewhere.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that he wanted to go to St. Louis.
Yep.
I feel like St. Louis was on his list if there was
Absolutely.
one. I don't think Boston was. And I think the only reason why he ended up in Boston is because they backed up the truck
Yep.
and are paying him the most money. And
Yeah.
I can envision it going, Boston calls the agent.
Yep.
The agent goes, holy crap. Agent calls Price. Price
Yep.
goes, well, they're offering me how much?
Yeah.
He talks to his wife, his girlfriend, his family. Can you move to Boston for that much money? We'll make it work.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that's how this went down.
But does that bother you?
It bothers me a little bit because, listen, I don't know how much resentment there will be. It sounds really weird, and he's getting a ton of money. And I understand the whole, okay, it's $30 million, $31 million a year.
Yep.
Shut up and go pitch. But when you want to be somewhere and you end up somewhere else,
Yeah.
if it doesn't go exactly the way, or if it doesn't go like above and beyond how you think it should be going,
Yeah.
I just feel like in the back of your head, you always have that thought that I really want to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just maybe that's why they have the 3-year opt out. I don't know. It's just I don't know what your take is on that.
I don't necessarily. So, first of all, I think the first thing the agent and the player do is they sit down and they talk priorities. Hey, what are you looking for? Is it just simply whoever offers me the most
Yeah.
money, or is it? Do you have certain cities you like more? You go to a city, you might like it more.
I'm thinking St. Louis was on his list. I'm thinking Chicago was on his list.
Yep.
I think the Dodgers were on his list.
Well, you take those 3 cities, right? One, St. Louis, probably closest to home. I think he still lives in Tennessee.
Yes.
So
I think
probably the that's going to spend the money.
Sure.
So 2, you have the Chicago Cubs, Joe Madden's there,
Yep,
and you know that
familiar with him.
Yeah, very familiar with him. And 3, you're probably going into the offseason thinking, all right, the Dodgers love to spend.
Even the Yankees.
Yeah. So if you put the Dodgers and the Yankees on the list, you're probably thinking because they love to spend, big money.
Yeah.
And they're probably just going to be there. Probably on your list, they're just going to be there because you know that they're going to call in on you.
Sure.
But if I'm David Price, and let's just say he put a top 5 together, and Boston wasn't on it.
Yeah.
Let's just say it was the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and we'll say the Blue Jays because
Even the Giants.
maybe the Giants.
Yeah.
Because they're hard on Greinke now.
Yeah. And I forgot that they were in on Leicester.
They were in on Leicester.
forgot
They were
about
in the
that.
final 3. They were right behind the Red Sox.
I forgot about that.
But if I'm Price, you know what it says? It says, hey, they want to win.
Yeah.
They want to do it now, and that's what I text you. They're all in. If I'm David Price, he hasn't won a World Series. Everyone's talking about this. This is a team that's all in right now.
Okay, so here's my other thought. It was very interesting because we brought up St. Louis, and apparently it sounded like what I read, it looked like he was going to sign with St. Louis.
I'd read that he was at a charity golf tournament on, when did it happen? Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. And he went to the golf tournament thinking when he was done with his round, he was going to call the Cardinals and say, I am signing with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then Dombrowski probably gets word of this, and
Yep.
he offers him, they up their offer or
Yeah.
whatever, and they say, take it or leave it. We need an answer by this afternoon because
Yeah.
they also had an offer out to Zach Greinke.
Yep.
And Greinke's, from what I read, his team was calling Boston
Yeah.
saying, we need an answer from
Yeah.
So before Boston, they obviously wanted Price
Wouldn't
before.
that be fascinating to be in that room?
Isn't that weird? So that intrigues me a lot.
Now, what happens if both Greinke and Price call and say, hey, we're coming to Boston?
Well, I think that they would have gone with Price.
Yeah.
But what that tells me is you have on the Price side
Yep.
the Sox chasing him.
Yep.
And you have on the Greinke side
Greinke
them
chasing,
calling Boston, which intrigues me because Greinke doesn't strike me as the type of guy who would want to go to Boston or New York. I feel like both these guys want to be in warm weather and quiet places. I just think that's very intriguing that Greinke's people would call Boston to say.
No, to add to that, I had read that the Greinke, they had obviously already had an initial offer to Greinke, and Greinke's, and this is back to you, called back and basically said, hey, if you just do a little more, we're 100% in. So meaning he wants to go here, but he is darn serious about becoming a Red Sox.
Okay, so let's throw this out here then. You asked if both of them called and said yes, who would you take or what would you do? Okay, why not get them both? Right, so you're all in, all right, with Price.
Yep.
You've got enough young talent on this team with very affordable contracts right now, right? So, I mean, even Castillo at what, $7 million a year?
So you really look at center field, right field.
The whole outfield.
The whole outfield. You've got a huge contract at third. Bogarts is making nothing.
Pedroia's really making nothing now.
And you have Hanley's,
But here's the thing with the corner guys now, Hanley and Pablo.
Yep.
There's only what? Pablo
and both your catchers are making nothing.
Catchers are making nothing, but your corner infielders, those were short-term deals. I think Hanley was 4 years.
Yep.
Pablo, I want to say it was
5.
Was it 5 with an option for a 6th?
I think so, yeah.
So
have they declined that option yet?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
End of year 1.
Yeah.
Pablo,
hey,
we're
this
good.
Is simply a 5-year deal.
But so what I'm getting at, and this is long-winded, Greinke seemed to show some interest in coming to Boston.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you get on the phone and try and figure that out?
I texted someone. I said, I don't know if he's going to end up in Boston, but I think the Red Sox are still in on Greinke.
Well, why hasn't he signed? So I have so many different things I want to talk about here. Let's stick on this for a second. Why hasn't Greinke signed with somebody? I'm hearing Dodgers, Giants, Dodgers, Giants.
You got to imagine both of them are probably down to their best offer. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really adding? Another $1 million? Like, it's at some point.
Lifestyle-wise,
yeah.
It's not like New York
and. I would
and
be 100% surprised. I would 100% believe if Dave Dombrowski is still in on Zach Greinke right now.
Now, and then you have this. What about the Yankees? The Yankees always sit back. They always wait in the weeds. What if they go, holy crap, the Sox made a move.
Yeah.
Now we got to get in on Greinke.
Yeah.
Now what if they're doing that? It's just there's always a team that
I guess it kind of comes back to is what if the Red Sox have the best offer to Greinke and he's like, ooh, I wasn't expecting them to be in. I was expecting to stay on the West Coast, but their offer is really good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all things you have to think about.
Yeah.
Or someone crazy's in on Greinke, like, I don't know, like the Blue Jays or something. And this is just a team that he was like, I never went in the offseason thinking that maybe I'll go play here.
Yeah.
But they have a fantastic offer to him, and he's like, I don't know.
maybe Arizona. They offered
yeah.
Cueto a deal. He reportedly rejected 6 years, $120 million.
Yeah.
Maybe Arizona wants.
And if
to
I'm
spend some
him,
money.
I don't necessarily think that's people looked at it as I think the thing with Cueto is he didn't know what the market was going to be, so he rejected it to wait to see what Price and Greinke got, and then he can kind of go from there. You know what I'm saying? So people thought it was kind of being arrogant. I just don't think he was. He wanted to see what the other guys did first to kind of. Exactly what Zimmerman didn't do. He just jumped at the first offer.
Which well, come on, Division III baseball guy.
Now he's making
over $100 million. I mean, I think he did okay for himself.
And he's back close to home. Wisconsin's about as close as he's. Well, if he could have gone to Milwaukee, but.
Now, can you imagine being in a position to turn down 6 years at $120 million in anything?
Yep.
Just imagine the agent being like, "I really
we can't
think you
do that.
shouldn't do this," and him going, "But I really want to." And he's like, no, Johnny, wait. I just so the Greinke thing intrigues me. Now here's the other thing. I texted you last night because I can 1,000% see this happening, and it scares the crap out of me. Monday or Tuesday, reports say that Price signed a 7-year deal with the Sox. He just needs to take his physical.
Yep.
Couple things. Why isn't he taking his physical?
I think he's doing it tonight. I think it's happening tonight.
Is it happening tonight? Okay. I'm end of the week. All I'm saying is take the physical, sign the papers. Now, the other thing the Sox like to do is they like to announce these signings, the Crawford Gonzalez, I'm thinking David Wells and Renteria and all. I just feel like they always hold one press conference
Yep.
to introduce
All of them.
all of them.
Yeah.
Could they be waiting for that press conference to also announce Greinke, right?
The deal would have to happen tonight.
Yeah.
I think the Price is being introduced tomorrow.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there goes my theory on
Yeah.
everything.
But
I'm
at the
not-
time, the deal was on Tuesday. That's
Yeah.
Usually it's like the
Well, I
next
was getting
day.
nervous last night. I
You
texted
remember when Adrian Gonzalez got traded, but they couldn't. They figured it out, but he was coming off shoulder surgery. Like he was getting traded, and he was in a sling still because he was still.
That's right, he was.
And they had to, there was some questions on the medicals, and the deal was on, then it was off, and then they finally did it. And they wanted to do an extension, but they wanted to wait. That was nerve wracking at the time.
So maybe tomorrow's press conference, which I didn't know about, it's Price, Kimbrel, and Chris Young. So the Sox now have 6 starting pitchers, right?
Yep.
They've got Price, they've got Kelly, they've got Buchholz, they got Miley, they've got Porcello, and they've got Rodriguez.
Yep.
Now I love the Price Rodriguez lefty at the
Yeah.
top of the rotation, and you even throw Miley in there as another lefty. But that's 6 starters, and I
Yep.
understand you need pitching. Who's the odd guy out? Let's say everyone's healthy, the season starts. I guess who would you like to be the odd man out? But who do you think it's going to be? Whether it's because of contract or because of versatility, maybe you can move him to the bullpen.
I would say I would like, and I think it's going to be Joe Kelly.
As odd man out.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
He just doesn't do it for me.
Bullpen.
I'd give him a shot in the bullpen. He throws hard.
Yeah.
See, Joe Kelly strikes
Long reliever. Mop-up guy.
Yeah, Joe Kelly strikes me as the guy that 10 years from now, 12 years from now, is going to sit at a bar stool and be like, God, I had it all, and I just tinkled it away. I feel like he has no clue what he's doing out there. And I feel like it's more a lack of preparation on his part.
It's very frustrating to watch a guy like that.
That's the best way to put it.
It's very frustrating because he's skinny as my...
But then,
pinky
he's
finger.
saying, oh, I'm going to win the Cy Young this year. It's like, dude, it's not funny. You're not even close.
You can't just go out.
Yeah.
So he strikes me as the type of guy all the way up through high school,
Yep.
college.
Yeah.
He just took the ball
And just threw.
and just threw.
It's fine. We got away with it.
But you get to this next level,
Yeah.
and you gotta put something into it. And it just, for a team like the St. Louis Cardinals, who, I don't know. It seems
They always hit on guys like that. You know what I'm saying? Like every guy that seems like that they bring up is a hit.
but they got rid of him.
And they just traded him, and it makes you wonder what did they know that we didn't know at the time?
And it was for Lackey, correct?
Yeah.
So that kind of strikes me as interesting because it almost tells you right there, hey, we're making a playoff push as usual, but we need a veteran presence. We need
Yeah.
some guy who has his craft
And you
together.
at the time you traded for him, and you're like, whoa, this guy started for them in the World Series last year. This is this is a pretty good pickup because you thought that that Lackey wasn't going to pitch that last year for that contract.
Yeah.
So you assumed that he would. I guess he couldn't really become a free agent, but I guess a holdout. So maybe
Sure.
his last year. And you're getting Joe Kelly, and you're like, this guy, he was one of their better pitchers last year. And then you got here, and you're like, man, maybe they knew something that we didn't know. Or maybe there was a reason why he was so easy to take.
I envision them going to Joe Kelly and saying, Joe, we want to put you in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And him going, no way in hell. Then them going, well, we think you'd be better off here. Your numbers, this is why we're going to do it.
Yep.
And him putting up a fit and them going, all right, well, we're going to look into trading you then.
Yep.
And I feel like he's going to get dealt. And I feel like they could maybe get the most return on him.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like his money is manageable. I don't feel like his salary is that high. He does throw hard. Ship him back to the NL. Send him to the NL West.
Well, don't you feel like, and that's what I kind of like, Dombrowski's like, yeah, you're going to do this. And if he's like, nope, he's like, okay, we're going to trade you,
Yeah.
or we might cut you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Of
course, who knows?
designate for assignment, whatever.
I think Kelly.
Or like you feel like Charrington would have been like, okay, well maybe we'll start you. That's kind of, and maybe it's false, but the first, a lot of the press conferences, Dombrowski's like, no, we've got to do it this way, and
David Price. We'll close this conversation on this, but David Price, loved the signing. He still can't play first base.
Nope.
He still can't work out and not drink for Pablo Sandoval. He can't play second base and make sure Dustin Pedroia stays healthy. He's a starting pitcher. He's very good. Do I think this makes him a contender? Absolutely.
Yep.
But there's still a lot of things that these Red Sox need
And they know
to go
that.
right.
And they know that.
You've got a guy who, you're putting Hanley at first base. That's still gonna be an experiment that I hope ends well and goes well. Just get through this year and then stick him at DH. Like Hanley, for the love of God.
Just catch the ball that's coming
catch
to
the ball for a year.
Yeah.
And we'll get you to DH and you can just hit.
Do you think, like, Dombrowski said that? Like, hey, look, I just really need you to focus on this for one friggin' year. 1 year. Just focus. And after this year, all you're going to do is hit. You don't even need to bring a glove to spring training. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, just please, like, can you please just, like, yeah, just focus on it for 1 year, one off season, and then you'll never have to play the field again.
Yeah, very well. I will say this, too. I think the Sox are in an okay position financially because let's say, just for shits and giggles, Price decides to opt out in 3 years.
Yep.
Okay, then you have another – Hanley's deal will be done.
Yep.
And then you have another year or two of Pablo, but you could eat some of that and deal him if need be.
Yep.
Right? Or move him to DH and have him hit 260 with 10 home runs.
Well, the thing is Pablo is always going to have a little value to teams in contention because he's done so well in October.
Sure.
So he's shown that if you put him in the right situation, he can focus and he can be very productive, you know?
Yeah.
They had a really good clubhouse in San Francisco, a really good team, and he fit in well, and he won 3 World Series. And not only it wasn't like he was along for the ride, he was one of their best players.
We talked about this a little bit. Boston sports media.
Yep.
It seems like the local guys aren't getting these big stories.
Yep.
I want to say the David Ortiz thing.
That was Rosenthal.
Rosenthal reported it, and then Ortiz went on the Players Tribune and announced it, which was we talked about that last time. What else? The David Price interest.
Yep.
I think that was
Verducci. Kimbrel was Rosenthal. All these guys.
Yeah. What you think that's just a coincidence? Because it seems like for every normal sports town, there's X amount of reporters.
Yeah.
In Boston, it's that number times 4.
Yeah.
It seems like there's just cut the sports media people in half.
Yeah.
And we'll be okay. Do you think there's something behind that, or do you think it's just a coincidence? Why do you think all these national guys are getting these stories before? And let me cut you off before you even say anything.
Yeah.
Do you think it has anything to do with Dombrowski?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, you think?
Well, especially a guy like that who's been around so long and been, he knows these guys from everywhere.
Yeah.
From being down in Florida and being in Detroit. The more I've gotten to, watch these guys, I just don't think a lot of these local reporters are very good.
They're not good.
Like, I'll be honest, Pete Abraham broke the David Price thing. The Boston Globe did it.
Yeah.
I think Pete Abraham's terrible. I think he's awful.
Yeah.
A
lot of the guys seem.
I always have a little place in my heart for Sean McAdam because he was a Providence Journal guy when I was young and reading the paper. I like him, but honestly, and I think you see it in football with guys like Adam Schefter. I just think a lot of these national guys like Rosenthal, they just work their asses off. They work.
Do you think the local media guys are going to be a thing of the past? Because Lee and I know this is not sports, but Lee and I'll watch E-News with her a lot of times from 7 to 8.
Yep.
And I swear to God, the whole hour is them reading tweets from celebrities.
Yeah.
Or let's go to Matt in the E-Newsroom for breaking news, and that guy's reading tweets or showing a video from Instagram. It's like that news. Doesn't take any talent. You and I can do that.
Yeah.
Not saying we're not talented, but I'm just saying the whole Verducci who doesn't have Twitter, Rosenthal, these old school guys who are on a national stage.
Yeah.
If you're a professional athlete or you're a professional manager or whatever, just skip over the little guys.
Yeah.
Because otherwise these players are going to go to Players Tribune.
And
they're going to report the news themselves.
And what speaks for itself is how many times has Rosenthal been wrong?
Yeah.
Puts a tweet out about, so-and-so's getting traded or so-and-so's hurt or whatever, and he's wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Same thing with Schefter on football.
Yeah.
he tweets something out that player X has a concussion. Will be he's in concussion. Guess what? He probably had Schefter probably knew he had a concussion before the player knew he had a concussion. I mean, it's just they're that good.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of these reporters too will fall back on the Twitter, on the Instagram, and just report off of that. And when you do have these national guys who
It's
still have
stupid
contacts,
because you got this guy like Rosenthal reports that Kimbrel is traded, and then I don't know, someone like, I'm just using the name, John Heyman calls up the Red Sox, his guy, which is probably just like a assistant GM. Did you trade for Kimbrel? Yup. And then he tweets, can confirm. It's like, why do you have to confirm it? It's already been told.
Can confirm, credit to so
Yeah, and it credits. It's like it's stupid.
First reported.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
So Barry Bonds may be getting back into baseball.
Yep.
I don't know. Is that final? I know that it was maybe negotiations were held up a little bit, but
The last I had read was he was offered a deal, but was kind of thinking about it with his family.
was the whole Balco thing in Miami, or was that A-Rod and his thing?
That's A-Rod.
Oh, okay.
Balco was in San Francisco.
It
yeah.
was in San Fran.
Yeah, or
Okay,
California.
So Barry Bonds, which, you know what, Mark McGwire, I didn't realize was with St. Louis for a few years.
Yep.
He then went over to the Dodgers with
Yep.
Mattingly, both as hitting coach.
Yep.
He's now with the Padres as their
The bench coach, yeah.
which usually means
Next is your manager position.
managerial position. And, are Bonds and McGuire on the same level? Well, they did go after, no, I think Bonds has done more
Absolutely.
bad
yeah.
stuff to the game than McGuire did.
Yeah.
But does this, I guess, I'm going to be careful how I say this. With all of the recent incidents, and not only just around all sports, whether it's basketball, mainly football,
Yep.
baseball a little bit with Jose Reyes.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of the bad stuff happening in professional sports now has to do with guns and domestic abuse against women.
Yep.
Do you think do you think that's doing the Bonds and the McGuires and the Tiger Woodses of the world? Do you think that's doing them a favor? Because now, as a society and as fans, we're going, well, listen, he never hit anyone.
Yeah.
He never hit a woman. All he did was try to hit home runs.
Yeah.
Do you think we're
yes and no. I think in the public relations eye, I think so.
Yeah.
In the world of, trying to get into the Hall of Fame and that stuff, that's
But,
no.
but if you had asked me 5 years ago or 3 years ago, I forget when Bonds stopped playing,
Yeah.
if he was ever going to be involved with baseball. I mean, you even have Pete Rose
Yep.
doing
Who-
baseball
yeah.
broadcasts
Yep.
on site in Major League
And
ballparks.
I think what helped Pete Rose a little bit was the steroid era. Where,
Right.
because they were saying, oh, we're not going to let this guy into the Hall of Fame because of steroids. And then people are saying, so you're not going to let him into the Hall of Fame and you're not going to let Pete Rose in because all he did was bet on games that he supposedly wasn't involved with, or whatever. And, but he was 100% clean. They didn't really have steroids back then. You know what? I think for some people, time kind of wounds, heals
all wounds.
Yeah, heals all wounds. Does it? Do you kind of sit back and say, man, this guy's beating his wife, and there's videos of this guy beating this woman up, and then you say, man, all he did was stick a needle in him, and if he's hurting anyone, he's hurting himself.
Sure.
I think, but look, I think the thing is baseball sees Barry Bonds as perfectly, nothing's wrong with him. They've said this before. They said, look, Barry Bonds to us is a complete. He's completely clean. He hasn't been proven. Oh my goodness, he hasn't been proven to do anything. Yeah, there's been rumors, but as far as we're concerned, clean slate, no problems, never had any domestic issues, nothing. It's the Hall of Fame which does the voting and the voters. That's a different thing. So if you ask baseball, no, he's just like anyone else. And the same thing with Roger Clemens. Yeah. He didn't do anything. He never got suspended. He never. Drove drunk or whatever. So,
sure.
So I think that's where you got to separate a little bit. So in the base, for Major League Baseball, when they see the hirings, I'm sure they've got to do background checks on everyone. They're like, yeah, he's Barry Bonds.
I'm wondering how effective you can be as a coach.
Yep.
When you've even if you haven't done anything, come on, let's be serious. Like,
yeah.
Barry Bonds did something. He was
Probably.
the size
Yeah.
of as wide as my door. Like he was,
And he put it on all in one off season.
and now he's he's as skinny as you are.
Yeah.
Like you stand side by side, and it's the same size.
Yeah.
But how can you teach the younger players? Like it was like A-Rod on Fox Sports
Yeah.
in the pregame, him telling stories about him and Jose Batista.
Yeah.
I might have said this on a podcast, but how do I don't believe you because you've lied to me for so many years.
Yep.
Like why should I believe? Like I want to like you, and I think you're doing a good job, but you could be completely full of crap because
Yeah.
you've been full of crap for the last 15 years.
Well, I think what it's going to come down to is can he teach it?
Yeah.
It's natural to think, oh, he was really good at baseball, so he can teach it. That's
Sure.
not necessarily the case.
Yeah, that's good. Good you brought that
Alex
up.
Rodriguez was on television, and he was talking. They basically quickly said, give us a couple pointers on hitting.
Yeah.
And everything he said was just horrible.
Oh, really?
But the point is in his head, that's what he needs to do
Yeah.
in order to mentally. He doesn't do it, but he's thinking that stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem is with guys like that is a lot of it comes so natural to him. So
Sure.
Barry Bonds goes to little Johnny Smith, who's just coming up to the big leagues, and he's like, "Yeah, just do it this way." And he shows him, but he's like, "I'm not Barry Bonds. I can't do that. And that's."
Yeah.
I was watching Eric Burns this morning, and he's like, "Some of the worst hitting coaches I've had were the best players because they're just like, yeah, just go in there and do this."
Yeah.
But you're like, "Yeah, you hit 500 home runs. I'm still at 50."
It does always seem like the best coaches
Yeah.
are catchers
Yep.
because they always seem to be,
Yeah.
involved with everything. Or just like bench players who maybe they instead of playing in the game, they're sitting on the bench observing everything.
Guys, Terry Francona, average outfielder.
Yeah.
John Farrell, average pitcher.
Yeah.
Dave Roberts, really a fourth outfielder.
Yep.
Gabe Kapler is going to be a manager one day, fourth outfielder.
He might join the Dodgers staff.
I think he is.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
But
Yeah.
Bruce Bochy, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, you don't see you don't see Barry Bonds becoming a manager. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? I mean,
Sure.
he might, but it's just,
Yeah.
because a lot of them don't want to. They don't want to hang around them. It's a lot of work too.
Well, my also going just real quick on Bonds. Why you've been out of the game for so long? I know professional wrestlers. I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And they always talk to each other about how long did it take you to get it out of your system.
Yeah.
And some guys are like 2-3 years. Some guys are like it hasn't got out of my
Yeah.
system. But don't you think when you've been away for the game as long as he has, I don't know. I just feel like, oh yeah, that time's passed. I just I don't know. Maybe it hasn't left his system, and he feels like he can give back. But who knows?
Could
who
be a Hall
knows?
of Fame thing. Maybe he wants to.
Maybe it could be just a Hall of Fame thing.
Yeah.
I get that sense with A-Rod on the TV.
Yeah.
I feel like he does all that crap.
Jim Rice did that. In a
Yeah.
sense, he was not, but he was always known to be pretty bitter to the media. And, and after 5-10 years of almost getting in, he became best friends with a lot of them.
Jim Rice give up 14 for David Price.
He's retired.
So, can he say you can wear it? It's happened before.
Probably not. I don't think
No.
you can do it.
Well, I
You
think
better bring a World Series home if you're going to do that.
this is a little thing, so I'm curious to see what
Number does he go with?
Maybe 41. Just turn it around.
Turn it around.
But who knows? Those things intrigue me. So, and it still bothers me that the Sox haven't let anyone wear number 21.
Yeah.
They literally haven't worn Clemens. I just either
But they give away 26 like it's
26, 38.
Yeah.
Just drives me freaking nuts. So, anyways, we're already at like the 45-minute mark, and I've got so much other.
I think we got 2 tonight in us.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's go over this real quick. We brought up coaching, being a good manager, whether you're a good player, if it's going to translate to being a good coach. The Golden State Warriors, defending NBA champions, have won the first 20 games of this season. Okay? Steph Curry, we'll get into a second, is going to break records like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
Luke Walton is their coach because Steve Kerr had back surgery, had to have another back surgery. He's home rehabbing. Excuse me. Let me say this again. The Golden State Warriors have won 20 games in a row to start the season, which I believe is tied for the longest streak to start a season not only in professional basketball, but
all
among the
sports.
4
Yeah.
major professional sports. It has led me to think that coaching. The only reason I brought this up is because I saw it, and someone said this just goes to prove how overrated of a coach Phil Jackson was. Because how much do these guys really do?
I think Phil Jackson's his.
How many Hall of Famers do you have on the Warriors right now? Possibly one.
Yep.
Steph Curry. You had Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen,
Well, I think
Michael Jordan. You had Shaq. You had Kobe.
Phil Jackson's best trait was he was able to get them all to work together. I think he was more of a manager than a coach. Don't you not agree? Like, it's not easy sometimes to get some of those guys going together. Hey, you know what I read today was Luke Walton, being an interim coach, he doesn't get credit for any of the wins, but he can be up for Coach of the Year.
He got Coach of the Month.
He should. He hasn't lost yet.
He got Luke Walton. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
He's getting zero credit.
Yeah.
For these wins, which kind of proves my point.
Yeah.
That you could stick you in there, and they would be 20-0.
You guys. All right. Here's the 5.
You guys know when to sub. Just go in whenever this dead ball. But Luke Walton won.
Steph, run the play.
Luke Walton won Coach of the Year, and he's
Coach of the Month.
Excuse me. Yeah, Coach of the Month. And in the record books, he's still 0-0 as a head coach.
Yep.
Which I just think is so funny. I don't know. I think maybe it's timing and it's the group that they have in Golden State.
Yeah.
They did win the championship, 0 hangover, which is really hard to do.
Especially in that city.
In that city, they brought back literally the same team.
Yep.
They got rid of David Lee.
That's about it, though.
That's really it. They brought in Gerald Wallace and then dropped him.
Yep.
Let him go. Maybe it's just the group of guys. Who knows? But it gets me. Now, you have certain situations like with the Celtics and Brad Stevens.
Yep.
Do I think Brad Stevens is overrated and not doing anything? No. I think if you stick you or me in there, then yeah, they probably won't win a game.
But doesn't it speak a lot that they're willing to entrust him with a team that might win the NBA championship?
Luke Walton?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I maybe. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. I just think it's maybe how about this theory? They knew they had a good thing going. They wanted to put someone in there who wasn't going to screw it up.
It could be. Could be.
A young guy that didn't know any better and wanted to, hey, you guys, I'm here to just hold the clipboard.
Yep.
You know what you need to do instead of bringing in some guy who maybe wants to be a head coach.
Put his own system in.
Hey, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to go over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. No, maybe it's just, all right, hands off. Just
now, was
be a
Walton
puppet.
an assistant last year? Or did he just come on board this year?
I believe he was an assistant last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Steph Curry holds the NBA record for most threes in a season. 2012, 2013, he hit 272.
Yep.
I think Ray Allen held it previously. He had like 269 or something, 267, somewhere in that range. Through 20 games, Steph Curry has made 102 three-pointers.
He's on pace for about 400.
He's on pace for over 400 three-pointers made in a single season, which he would beat his previous record by, you do the math. He would blow it out of the water. That's very interesting. I'll be curious to see if he can keep it up. Fun stat I saw about Larry Bird. The most three-pointers Larry Bird ever made in a season was 98.
Really?
Steph Curry's beaten Larry Bird
already
through 20 games. So obviously it's the times, it's different errors, different styles. But I just think that put it into perspective a little bit.
Have you ever watched a player that can get so hot so quick?
No. I've never seen anything. It was Golden State and Charlotte last night.
Yep.
Del Curry,
Steph's
dad, is a commentator for the Hornets.
Yep.
They're from the area.
Yep. Played for the Hornets for like 12 years. Yep.
Steph Curry scored 28 points in the third quarter.
He had like 4 in the first half.
Yep.
And
Finished
you feel
with
like
40.
it's just one shot, and he's like, yep, I'm hot. Just keep feeding me the ball.
I think he had 4 or 5 three-pointers from over 30 feet.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Which is the most in NBA that's ever never. The guy, he's fun to watch.
Yep.
I don't know him personally. Seems like a good guy.
Yep. Every time I go into the mall, he's all over Express too. He has a deal with Express.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sharp dressed man. Let me say, his pictures all over the place. First time I went in, I was like, "That's Steph Curry."
But this is he can shoot. The kid can shoot, and he's fun to watch.
I feel like I never watch him miss. I feel like I've never seen him miss.
It's like when he misses, you're like, he got fouled.
Yeah.
Or
There's
something
wrong.
happened.
Yeah. He's hurt. Get him out of there.
Yeah, he hey man, I hope this kid stays healthy. I hope he plays all 82 games.
Don't he just seem like a likable guy? Like,
Yes. He's the anti-LeBron.
Yeah.
He's the anti-LeBron. I don't like LeBron. He's the anti-LeBron. The Warriors are the anti-Cleveland Cavaliers, and I love it.
Don't you kind of feel like that they're going for it? Meaning, like, they're not sitting there saying, all right, so we're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. Well, Wednesday maybe we'll look at – they want to win every single night.
Yes.
Now, may that hurt them in the playoffs? I don't know. I think maybe they're young enough for that. But it's kind of, like, refreshing where – like sometimes you feel like some of these guys already have their nights off like before the year. They're like, "Yep, yeah, here's 15 games I'd like to have off."
LeBron's already got the last week of December off.
Yeah,
he's already penciled that in.
Yeah.
Here's the scary thing about the Warriors too is they've got another guy on that team, Klay Thompson.
Yep.
Who can't get as hot.
Yeah.
But he can get hot pretty
He's
quick
really
too.
good too. Yeah.
He can get hot pretty quick too. And the thing that I love about Steph Curry, you see Kobe Bryant score 40 points in a game.
Yep.
He took 35 shots to get there.
Not only did he had 28 points in one quarter. It took him 11 shots.
11 shots. The kid took like 18 shots in the game, and he
Yeah.
ended up with 40 points.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook, love him.
Yeah.
Takes him 30 shots to get to 30
Same
points.
thing with Harden.
Don't even get Harden. You've seen videos on Harden play defense, right?
Yep.
He doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
He does not play defense. But you're exactly right. 30 shots, 30 points.
Wouldn't you just have loved to have been that player when you played basketball where you could just shoot when you want because they're like, oh, well, he's hot. You might as well let him shoot. And, oh, he's got to shoot in order to get hot, so we're just going to continue to let him shoot until he gets hot.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah. So Warriors are the Milwaukee Bucks have hit skid rows. I don't know if you've paid attention at all to
I
the
have,
standings. Yep. Milwaukee seems to be losing every game by like 20 points. So I'm curious to see if Jason Kidd can get his act together and figure it out or what's going to happen over there. 76ers won a game.
Yep.
They beat the Lakers.
In the Kobe farewell tour.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about that for a second. That's getting a little weird to me.
It doesn't surprise me as much because he was from Philadelphia, but you brought up a valid point that I never thought about. Is like, so you got the Lakers who are terrible. Yeah. They go to Philadelphia. No one should go. No one should lose to the Sixers. Someone's going to, but no one should.
Yeah.
They lose. They look bad. Kobe was. You look at the stats; was horrible. Yeah, his typical 19 points on 25 shots.
First minute. He had like 12 points.
He's
3 threes.
First 3 threes, boom, boom, boom. And then he went 1 for 14 the rest of the game. 1 for 14. And then after the game, he's hugging everyone.
Waving to the crowd.
Waving to the crowd. Just got a weird feeling to it.
It's weird, huh?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like – I feel like his teammates always hated him.
Yeah.
I feel like they really hate him now.
You think they're sitting there like, oh, this is a struggle, and now we got to go through this every.
Like just
when we
go
go
away.
to when we go to Atlanta, we've got to have
all these East Coast teams.
Yeah, because that's the thing is with all these teams when you play your other conference, you play one at home and one away. So you only play one game at each place.
Yeah.
You see Danny Ainge today. He's like, yeah, we're not planning anything special for the Kobe farewell tour.
I saw Wick Grossbeck was on Felger and Mass.
Yeah.
And they asked him about that.
Yeah.
And he said he honestly doesn't know. He said that I think they did something with Kareem back in the day. So he goes, maybe we'll do something. But he goes, honestly.
Danny kind of said, look, we're not disrespecting them, but we're not pulling out cars and stopping games. And he's like, yeah.
Now, I didn't hear Danny Ainge say that, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But they
had him on Toucher and Rich, I think.
Yeah, he's in the morning with them. They flat out asked Wick Grossbeck, they go, do you like Kobe?
Yeah.
And he didn't. He didn't say no.
Yeah.
But he didn't say yes.
Yeah.
And what they got out of him was Wick goes, I like guys who are team first.
Yeah.
And who will help players get better. And Kobe has the reputation of him first and the opposite of what I
Yeah.
like. So I thought that was really interesting. I think Kobe should walk away right now. I've personally never been a big Kobe fan.
Yeah.
I don't like Kobe. I'm sorry. I don't like Kobe. I don't know. I just don't like Kobe. I don't like a guy. I'm sorry. I just don't like a guy. I don't know. Something about Kobe bothers me, and I want to say it's because he takes so many shots, but Jordan used to take 30, 40 shots a game.
Yep.
So, but interesting thing I saw about Jordan. Do you know how many seasons Michael Jordan played in the NBA?
Not 12?
15.
Really?
He only played 15 seasons.
Remember he had that hiatus there.
Took a couple years off.
Took a couple years
I
off.
think Kobe's in his 20th season
Yeah.
right now. They're doing side by side.
Yep.
Jordan finished his career, even with Washington the last couple years, he still averaged over 30 points a game
Nuts.
for his career.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, again, couple minutes left. We'll go over if we have to. We'd be remiss if we didn't touch on the Sunday night football game.
Yep.
Great visual.
With the snow and
Loved
everything.
it.
Yeah.
Loved
Yep.
it.
Absolutely.
I thought going in the Pats were going to get blown out by 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
They proved me wrong.
Yeah.
Big time. And up until Harper dropped that punt
Yep.
in, the third quarter,
Yeah.
they had that game. Or maybe it was even early. Whatever.
It was early
late,
fourth.
late,
Yeah,
late
yeah,
game.
Yeah.
The Pats had that game wrapped up.
Yeah.
They
You know
were-
what I was thinking, and I was watching, and I went into it saying my thought process was the Broncos need this way more than the Patriots. If the Patriots go into Denver without what they're missing guys and then losing more guys and beat them, like that's game over. That's
Yeah.
game over for Denver. So I'm thinking Denver's. I didn't think they were going to blow them out,
Yeah.
but I was like, even with Osweiler, I think that Denver's going to win this game. And I remember, they score, they create a couple turnovers, and then the pass to Bolden, the 65 yards or whatever, and just completely, just confusing the defense.
Yeah.
And all I'm sitting there thinking is like, God, this team has a lot of stones. Like
Yeah.
they're going into Denver and they're up 21-7 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And obviously it all fell apart. But that's the thing that I got away from is no one talks about that. The last drive that Brady got him in field goal position.
Yeah.
Dude, you and me were out there as receivers, and he took him to, and Gostkowski's kick in the snow.
So let's talk about that. I mean, Brady was animated all night with the refs.
Yep.
And maybe NBC was just holding the camera. They seem to do that, nowadays, anyways. Gronk gets. I thought his leg fell off.
Yep.
It looked like he got shot.
Yep.
Thankfully, it only looks like a knee strain or a bone
I think
bruise.
they said a bruise, yeah.
So who knows when he'll be back? Joint release statement. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But you just hit on it. The Pats go down by 3 with I think 1:09 left, something like that. Maybe one timeout.
Yes, they had one.
One
Yep.
timeout.
Yep.
And Brady drives them down the field.
Yep.
No Gronk, no Edelman, no Amendola. You want to throw Dobson in? No Dobson.
Yeah.
Right. No Deion Lewis.
Yep.
I don't even know who he was throwing to. LaFell.
Yep. LaFell and Scott Chandler.
Scott Chandler. And he gets him in a position to kick a field goal. Gostkowski comes in, nails it.
Yep.
It was a good game. It was a fun game.
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
As soon as Gronk got hurt, I was kind of like, this really.
I think that was
matter.
one of those things where even if they did win, you're like, ooh, nah, that's not good. You know?
That to me, I was more worried about Gronk and his long-term status.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, I was like, I don't care if they win.
Yeah.
I don't care. They're not going to go undefeated. But doesn't it show you how quickly things can change? Just how many people were talking about a perfect season.
Yep.
And now week after week, guys are going down.
Yeah.
And things can change
In a second.
In a second.
Well, and I think, and this is the other thing that I got from it, is I think there's no other team in the NFL, maybe in sports, that does a better job of saying they don't sit there and say we don't have these guys, we have these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And we say, all right, we're not worried about who we don't have. This is what we have, and we have got to make the best of what we have.
Yeah.
Now, it helps to have Tom Brady back there. Absolutely. Helps to have Bill Belichick there. No question about it. But I think Sunday night showed just how good they are at that. Saying, look, yeah, we're down, guys, but this is what we have, and we're gonna find to make the best of what we have.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, but he doesn't care about Edelman and Amendola right now. They can't play right now. It's and when they can, great. But I think they do such a good job. Obviously, a lot of people were talking about the Broncos, and it was a good win for them. They needed it bad, but
they're not a bad team.
They're not. They're a good team. But let me ask you. I mean, if I'm the Broncos, you think you sit back on Wednesday and say, "Man, we were pretty close to losing to that team, and they were missing probably 5 of their top 6 players."
Could you do that? Yeah, and I mean, you and I can talk about it like that, but
you can if you're a player.
If you're Kubiak,
yeah.
I can't say the guy's name, Kubiak,
Yep.
or one of the coaches. You're not going to put on the film and say, "You guys almost lost to the B squad."
Yeah. No, you can't. But I guess if I'm a Broncos fan, that's the first thing I think, because they lost Hightower in the middle of the game. Jamie Collins wasn't playing. You lost Gronk. You lost. Amendola wasn't playing. Edelman wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So it was actually a really enjoyable game. The one thing I hate about Sunday night games is if they lose, you're like, oh, it's midnight and they just lost. I just lost my whole night. Could have gone to bed at 8:00.
Well, that and then sports radio for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Luckily, the Price signing happened. I've tried to avoid sports radio for the most part, just because I don't want these guys to ruin it for me. I want to be a fan and enjoy it and try to forget about some of the stuff, just to be like, oh, the Sox signed a guy. Pat's 38-4.
Yep.
Since 2003, following a loss.
Really?
It's not bad.
Pretty good.
So we'll see what happens.
It's been something like, I think that's probably 2013 was the last time they lost back-to-back games.
Yeah.
It's like you sit back and it could be crazy. It's like, guys, they're 10-1. They lost.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, they lose again. Broncos stay at 2 losses.
The one of the saving graces is that the Broncos and Bengals play each other at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that someone's going to have to lose there or whatever.
And that Texans game just got a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it did.
They've been playing better football.
Absolutely. I gut feeling says I don't think the Eagles are going to be a walk in the park.
The game's in Foxborough, right?
Yeah, it's in Foxborough. It's 4:25, so you're going to be a little hyped for it. Something about it. I don't know.
4:25 start?
Yeah.
Is it on Fox? It's got to be on
It's
Fox.
on Fox. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Chip Kelly, I think, is on his way back to the college level. I think he's gone.
I feel like he would. I feel like that's like wimping out. Oh, it's not working in the NFL. I'm just going to go back to college. It's just an easy way out, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah, what if Philly, the president or owner, comes to him and says, "We want you out"?
Oh yeah, well that's easy. Yeah, you're going to fire me? Okay, well I just took the so-and-so job.
Yeah, if someone comes,
when USC hired their intern coach, there was a report came out that they had talked to Chip Kelly early, because that was the Thanksgiving weekend. They had played on Thursday, so they had the weekend off.
Yeah,
and they had talked to Chip Kelly about the job, and they weren't impressed with the interview, and they said, "No, we'd rather stick with our guy."
No,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
because he came out and said no.
Yeah. And that was the story, that USC had talked to him. They called to him. They set up an interview, and they came back very unimpressed with him. And they said, "We're going to stick with our guy."
Really?
Which is shocking.
Because he had a nice little thing going at Oregon.
Yeah,
right?
and that's how bad could it have been? He was almost won the national championship there.
No
I feel
kidding.
like if you're USC, it's tough to say no to that name.
Winding down, read off a couple names. Tell me yes, you're interested. No, you're not interested.
Yep.
A couple guys in baseball were non-tendered, which means they essentially become free agents.
Yep.
Will Middlebrooks,
No.
Greg Holland. Probably will miss all next year. Has to have had
Yep.
Tommy John. Got his
Maybe.
lights out with the Royals.
Yes.
Sign him to a 2-year deal.
Yeah. You see that sometimes in the NBA where guys get they get cut and you sign them to a 2-year deal because you don't want them to play good for you and then become a free agent at the end. You want 2 years out of them.
I feel like the Pats did that with Dion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Henderson Alvarez. No. Nick Hagedorn. I feel like he was in the Sox system previously.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Indians let him go. Nice little lefty.
Yep. Possibly.
Bullpen. I'm going to screw up his last name. Steve.
Cishek?
Cishek, yeah.
He struggled in Miami.
But no, he went from Miami to St. Louis.
He was what I'm saying is when he lost the closer's job in Miami and then they cut him.
That's how he ended up in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's how he ended up in St. Louis.
I feel like he's like a submarine guy.
Yeah, he is. He's from Massachusetts.
Is he?
Yeah.
Falmouth. Maybe. I just made that up. He intrigues me a little bit.
Yeah.
I like loading your bullpen up with guys, lefty, righty, different angles.
I mean, he was good in Miami before they gave him the closer's role, and then he struggled.
Pedro Alvarez? Nah.
I thought that was an interesting one. Did hit almost hit 30 home runs last year. Not easy to come by power.
Could you see him going to like Baltimore? Well, Baltimore just got Trump.
But he was so bad at first base they didn't start him at first in the playoff.
Toronto, maybe. He'll hit 40 home runs when he goes there.
And he'll know what's coming.
Petit from the Giants is interesting to me.
Yep.
I can't say his first name. Starter or reliever. I think he was more effective out of the bullpen.
Yep.
Mike Minor, Braves, little lefty.
Yep.
Hasn't really pitched in 2 years. Neftali Felice. Nah. I think Chris Carter might have been designated as well. I don't have him on.
He was. They were talking to trade. They were trying to trade him. Clearly, they couldn't.
I'm just interested in pitching right now.
Yeah.
It seems like your starters. If you could convince Joe Kelly to go to the bullpen, great. But I'd love to see. To me, a perfect bullpen would be a Kimbrel from the right to close it out. You're bringing in an Andrew Miller. Now this won't happen, but if they had signed Andrew Miller.
Yep.
From the left, you mix and match up,
Koji,
down.
yeah.
You got Koji, you got Tozawa.
You got hard throwers, you've got soft throwers, you've got...
Yeah, I like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We never touched... Let's end the podcast on this. Rich Hill, my man Rich Hill.
Yep.
The next Cliff Lee, who says he still wants to pitch, by the way.
I did read that today.
Did not have surgery, but he still wants to pitch.
Just letting everyone know I'm out there.
I need that $10 million.
Yeah.
Rich Hill got like $6 million from Oakland.
1 year, $6 million, right?
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I feel like he's going to. Rich Hill will be an all-star next year.
Hey, now this is like the perfect.
If not, he'll be on that last fan vote ballot.
This is like the perfect Billy Beane signing because he's got 1 year, $6 million, right? And he sits there and he says, "All right, so if he pitches really good, a couple things are going to happen. One, we're going to be good.
Yeah.
Or two, I can trade him at the deadline because he doesn't have any, he doesn't have a long-term contract. It's like right up Billy Beane's alley.
I love it.
And then he could sit there and trade him to a contender.
Yeah.
Do
you think I'm crazy to have comparisons to Cliff Lee with Rich Hill?
I'd like to see a little bit more, but
Really?
the comparisons are there. You really look at it, right? Guy that kind of hit rock bottom, and he was outstanding when he came back last year.
He's got a good curveball.
Yeah.
I think falls off
very
the table.
similar, like pitcher to Cliff Lee.
Yeah.
You remember Cliff Lee was a minor leaguer for a little while, then he comes back and he's,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm happy for him. Who knows?
it's a great deal to get. I mean, think about it: $500,000
For Rich Hill.
for Rich Hill to $6 million for a year.
And I read something on him. He goes, he'd like to stay in Boston. Obviously, they all say that, but he goes, no, I want to go out there. And he said, he basically said, whoever offers me the most money, I'm going.
Good for him.
But he also,
Yeah.
but then I read after he signed that Oakland, it helped that they offered him. I might have read that someone offered him more.
Yeah.
But Oakland offered him the chance to
Start really.
and that's what he wanted to do. So, anyways, that was over an hour, 60 minutes of great sports entertainment. Any last closing thoughts before we?
I think we hit most of it.
Yeah, I had a lot on my list.
What else did you have on there?
You
You have something about the NFL refs or?
no, we've
No.
talked about that too much.
I'm
think
so
it's
sick of the
becoming a
conspiracy
disaster.
theory stuff. It's just beyond me.
They just suck. They're just
Yeah,
really
they're just
bad.
really
I thought it was funny that the Cowboys haven't put Romo on IR yet.
really.
The division's terrible, and they're literally like they're a game away from being a game out.
They are 3-8, and I think the Redskins lead it at 5-6.
Honestly, the only other thing I had was the Cowboys. Romo, we hit on everything else.
They're just holding out hope.
Yeah, crazy. I said crazy or smart. Division is a mess. If you're Tony Romo, you're like, guys, my clavicle.
You know what
is
I
like,
think
my
is funny
collarbone.
is they put him on that IR designated to return.
Yeah.
But then they were saying why they do it. He was ready like 2 weeks before he was allowed to return, and then he got hurt. And all I'm reading is this stuff. They let him came back way too soon. He's
Yeah.
got. It's like, geez, Louise.
I wonder if his little comment to Brady there. What did he say at the end of that
See you
game?
in February.
So I'm just like, okay, bud.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Love the enthusiasm,
Yeah.
but maybe not this year. All right, Krugs. Well, we'll catch you down the road.
Sounds good, buddy.
See ya.
Bye.